Okay, so the smallest instantiation of an institution I am proposing, for the sake of this conversation, is a word. Now, you put a bunch of words together, what do you get? You get a sentence. You put more words together, what do you get? You get a paragraph. You put a bunch of paragraphs together, you get some type of document, a white paper, an essay, a poem, a book, whatever. But it goes further than that, because you put a bunch of words together. You get a legal document. You get a mission statement. You get the description, the definition of what we most commonly think of when we hear the word institution. Some type of a corporation, some type of a charity a foundation, some type of foundation, some type of a legal entity, any type of legal entity, right? So, and there's hundreds of thousands of them, maybe hundreds. So, the parallel to the physical world is an atom. An atom is what is commonly thought to be the smallest instantiation of matter, the smallest of a unit of matter, or maybe some people would say, well, no, actually it's an electron, the smallest. My man, Theoria, Apophasis, he, Theo, I said at the beginning of this thing, I misspelled Theoria. I spelled it like theoria, something like that. Anyway, I misspelled it. Whatever, it's Theoria, Theoria. So my man Theoria Apophasis, I don't know his real name, but that's the name of his YouTube channel. This guy says, and I'm not sure if what's his name? Not Einstein, but the other guy, Tesla. I'm not sure if Tesla would agree or not, but anyway, Theoria Apophasis says that there's no such things as electrons. Yeah, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that's what he says. I believe he also says that there's no such thing as protons. There's only neutrons. And what we think we're seeing when we're seeing protons and electrons are neutrons in various states of velocity or direction. Well, velocity implies direction. And velocity is speed combined with vector. So speed plus vector equals a velocity. So, rate of rotation or a velocity, basically, speed or direction of travel. So I remember reading Stephen Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time. It's a very difficult book to read, in spite of the fact that it's a layman's book on theoretical physics. It was written for the layman, but it's still difficult to read. I think it was in that book that Stephen Hawking says something very similar, and that when we think we're seeing different types of particles at the subatomic level, we're seeing the same particle, just it's moving at different speeds and different directions in different ways. So, but all very interesting stuff. But regardless of what the smallest unit of instantiation for physical matter is, whether it's the atom or the neutron or the proton or the electron, regardless of what it is, the parallel is the same. That is to say, you take the small, for the sake of this conversation, let's say it's the atom, right? You take a bunch of atoms, what do you get? You get a molecule, You take a bunch more atoms, what do you get? Well, you get some object, You get an apple, you get a car, you get a nuclear power plant, you get a planet, you get a solar system, you get a you get a galaxy, whatever, So it's the same principle, right? In the theoretical or the non-physical realm, as the physical realm, it's like a parallel. It's an analogy, it's a metaphor, it's a something along those lines. So it's like a parallel, basically. It's like a reflection. So I'm talking about an institution. And I'm talking about the institution. Okay. So I forgot my train of thought. To be honest with you, I'm tired. I was just working on, just doing a bunch of carpentry type work, building a tower garden for my grandkids. So I'm tired. And plus, I was up till like 2 o'clock last night. I got up at 8 o'clock, and I've just been go all day long, so I'm getting tired. But plus I still have this chest cold. Everything's at one time. But so the issue is, or I think that I'm discussing in my last video, the issue is that it doesn't matter what institution we associate ourselves with respect to our spiritual condition, with respect to our ultimate the final destination for our spirit, for our soul. And I don't know how to distinguish between spirit and soul. I hear different people talk and different people say different things. In fact, they say that the exact opposite. So I don't know. I don't think anybody knows. But the Hindus have their idea about it. The Christians have their idea. The Jewish people have their idea. The Muslims have everybody has their own ideas about it. So I'm just in I don't know phase about that. I'm still kind of trying to learn about that. But so the final destination of your spirit or your soul is not based upon which institution you associate yourself with. And if you think about, again, what an institution is, it's a word, it's clothing, it's a cultural group, I mean, think about it. A Hindu mother or a Hindu father loves their child. Is that God or is that not God? I say that it's God. I say, and I'm talking about sincerely loving their child, not manipulatively loving their child, but sincerely loving their child. Same for a Muslim, same for an atheist, same for a Satanist, same for an agnostic, same for, whatever. I think that that's God, I don't think that there is good in the world that does not come from God, So, that is, I think, what Jesus was talking about when he said, many will say to me, Lord, Lord, and I will say, depart from me, I know you not. And that is to say, there are plenty of Christian people who love their children in an extremely narcissistic, manipulative, evil way. And did I say many? I don't mean to say many. I'm not trying to say that Christians are good or bad, that Muslims are good or bad. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that people, we're all the same. I am not saying that all religions are the same, but I'm saying that people are the same. That's why when the Bible says don't judge, it's talking about not judging people. It's not talking about not judging ideas. It's not talking about not judging things. I mean, you hear that all the time. Well, you can't judge. It's like, well, it depends on what you mean, right? Because the Bible is all about judging. We can't go a single hour without judging. Like right now, I'm judging. Should I turn left? Should I turn right? Should I yield for this yield sign or should I not? I mean, all of these things are judgments, right? And I judge that I will yield for yield signs and stop at stop signs. And I will turn, I'm having trouble judging which way I turn here. Should I turn left or right? I think I turn left, no? Or do I turn right? I'm making a judgment call. And I'm going to judge that I turn left. I hope it's a good judgment. To get me where I need to go, which is to get something to eat because I'm starving. So, should I say something mean to my son? Or should I say something nice? That's a judgment. What I just said, was it mean or was it nice? Oh, if it was mean, I want to make sure I never say that again. If it was nice, I want to, I would like to make a mental note of that so I can repeat that more often, or as often as possible, So, and it gets. These are very simple things. These are very easy things, right? But it gets sticky when we come to issues that we don't agree on. Is this right or is this not right? I know a guy who, on a regular basis, he worked in construction. He had his own company, and he used to put tools inside of stacks of wood at Home Depot and walk out, pay for the wood, but not the tool that was hidden. To me, that's very wrong. I mean, that's bad. My judgment on that is that's evil. That's not. His judgment was that it's smart, that it's clever, that it's, whatever. I don't know. But, so he and I, if we ever had the opportunity to debate it, I mean, he might become angry at me because I'm saying that something he's doing is wrong in my estimation, And then he might whip out well, you can't judge. He might whip that out on me. And I'm like, well, yes, I can judge. I have an obligation to judge. I have an obligation and a duty to judge things. I can't judge you. I'm not trying to tell you that you're going to hell because you're stealing these tools. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that stealing these tools is wrong. I can't judge you. I mean, that's what the Bible says. Don't judge. And I believe that that's what it means. Don't judge, But, so, I can't judge a Hindu or a Muslim, or I can't judge that person and say, you're evil, you're good. You're going to hell, you're going to heaven. I have no idea. I mean, I literally have no idea, because that's too much for me, It's way too much for me. But I can say this aspect of your religion, I don't agree with this, I don't agree with making women wear bags over their heads. I mean, I don't agree with that. To me, that's evil. That's oppressive. And by the same token, I don't agree with Christians who say you shouldn't have sex before marriage, but then they turn around and they go out to barbecue after church. It's like, well, wait a minute. The Ten Commandments are pretty explicit, when it comes to not working on the Sabbath. It says, not you, not your maidservant, not your servant. I mean, it's if you go back and read it, I believe it's Exodus chapter 20. It's very explicit, Now you're gonna come down like a jackhammer on me for fornication, when the Bible doesn't even talk about fornication. It talks about adultery, the New Testament talks about fornication, but a lot of people make the argument, well, no, they're talking about like Roman baths. They're talking about like orgies. That's the kind of... Okay, so if you still want to say that fornication is evil, it's bad, okay, fine, go ahead, say whatever you want, okay? But, that's your opinion, my opinion. We can debate it, but before you start coming down hard on this issue or that issue, as a Christian, like I said, go back and read Exodus chapter 20 or wherever the Ten Commandments are, and with respect to the Sabbath, and see what it actually says, and see if after reading that, if you're actually okay sitting there and having people serve you food on the Sabbath. See if you're still okay after you read that, So, the bottom line is, I don't know what the bottom line. The bottom line is that the ministry of Christ was a spiritual revolution. It's a spiritual kingdom, and so I don't think that any institutional identification has any value whatsoever with respect to the idea of going to heaven or not going to heaven. So, and as a result of that, I think that there will be Hindus and Muslims and Satanists and atheists and agnostics and say, well, then people would say, well, then why should I bother with all this church stuff? In my case, so why should I bother with all this? Well, I mean, for me, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I mean, I was born into this, and for me, I think that to me, it's to see, God. I didn't pick my parents. I didn't pick my culture. I didn't pick my nation. I didn't pick my era, in terms of when I would be born. God picked all of that. Now, I think, my opinion, I've got to take everything that's good about everything that God gave me and honor that, and be loyal to it, and if it's good, exalt it, exemplify it, amplify it, but people say, well, then why shouldn't I just become a Hindu? Well, I'd say, well, if you want to become a Hindu, become a Hindu. I mean, nobody's stopping you, there's nothing to be stressed about. There's nothing to be angry about, exercise your best judgment, and if in your best judgment, that's what you should do, then do that, but in everything, I think, the bottom line, a different bottom line is, like the Bible says, the whole duty of man is to obey God's commands. You say, well, okay, well, what are God's commands? Well, You got to exercise your judgment, I think that just universally, all religions, except certain, like Satanists, for example, but almost all religions, recognize that loving your neighbor, is one of the commands, and that's what I think that Jesus affirmed that, So, again, for me, Jesus said that all of the commandments hang on the commands of loving God and loving your neighbor. Recognizing that there is a higher authority, and giving that higher authority honor, just like you give every other authority honor. You give your boss honor by doing what he or she wants you to do. You give the president honor by, being respectful and obeying the laws. And you could argue that taking them to account, holding them to account for things, is honoring them, because that's the system of government. That protesting, wrong is inherent or implied or intrinsic to our system of government. For me, as a Protestant, the idea of protesting is built into my very name, the very name of the very religious doctrine that I subscribe to, right? Protestant, a protester. It's my duty to honor my spiritual forefathers, by protesting, because that's what they did. That's how they got their name. They protested authority, official authority. So I'm honoring who God made me to be when I stand up to authority and say, hey, you know what? You're wrong. I think you're wrong. It's my opinion that you're wrong. And I'm not going to be meek about it or humble before you. I'm going to be humble before God, but I'm not going to be humble before you about it, because I know that you are ensconced in your position of honor, and that even if you're wrong, you wouldn't give it up easily, right? Because you probably got some ego things going on. You got some things going on that require me to be dogged, right, in my protestations. There's something to eat over there. Okay. So, I think that there will be all kinds of people in heaven. I choose to be what I am because it's what makes the most sense to me. I think that we all have a duty before God to do what makes the most sense to us, and to do it boldly, because you could make the argument how you think determines what makes the most sense to you, and how you think is how God made you. So honor that, Don't live in fear. Don't be afraid to say this is what makes sense to me. Don't be afraid. Don't let fear form your thoughts. Don't let fear form your thought process, your opinions. No. Make fearlessness the fuel that drives your opinions, and see if you end up disagreeing with me, that there is nothing more fulfilling than living a life of fearlessness. Absolutely nothing. There's just nothing. There's no way to describe how fulfilling it is. It's just unbelievable. And I have to come to the conclusion personally that God made us to be fearless, and that therefore when we are fearful, we are acting in defiance, in disobedience to God's will for our lives. So, all right, I think I rambled enough and digressed and chased enough rabbits for one day. God bless you. I hope you like this, even if you don't agree. I hope you like it, and I hope it gave you some reasons to think and some things to think about. And I hope you have a wonderful, amazing, happy, and above all, fearless week. Bye.